Coming up on Global Business, Chinese outbound direct investment jumps nearly 11% year on year in the first 7 months, with companies investing nearly $72 billion overseas. In its latest monetary policy report, China's central bank says the country has maintained reasonable money and credit growth in the first half of the year. And China's summer box office sales are on track to hit a record high, with July alone seeing over $1 billion in movie ticket sales. Welcome everyone to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong in Beijing. Well, first up, data unveiled by China's Ministry of Commerce on Thursday shows that from January to July, Chinese companies invested nearly $72 billion to non-financial sectors overseas. Now, that marks a year-on-year jump of 10.6%. Approximately one-fifth of those investments found their way to Belt and Road nations. The Commerce Ministry also announced ongoing discussions regarding countermeasures to address the recent executive order by the Biden administration, which curtails American companies' involvement in China's tech sectors. Meanwhile, the ministry also saying China welcomed U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo's planned visit to China. And for more on China's outbound direct investment, I want to bring in Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novum RK Technologies. Jiahe, welcome to the program. So I want to begin by asking you, we have this very uncertain global economic environment. So which sectors overseas are you seeing Chinese non-financial investment heading into?
Hi, Michael. Well, in recent years, we have seen China's overseas investment has increased by a dramatic extent, especially after the pandemic period. In the first 7 months of this year, the non-financial investment to overseas market has increased by 18% compared with a year ago. According to the data, currently the sectors that are taking the most of investment include things like rental and business service, manufacturing, mining, as well as retailing. So basically speaking, China is using its own comparative advantage in the global market. For example, we have extensive comparative advantage with things like manufacturing, setting up factories, producing raw material, etc. But looking into the future, this can also change. Currently, China is growing its own consumption sector at a rapid speed. So in the future, we can see more overseas investment with consumption as well. For example, the digital gaming industry has actually got quite good global market share in recent years. The automobile and new energy vehicle have also gained quite a large amount of global market compared with a decade ago.
Well, Jiahe, we were reporting that nearly one-fifth of Chinese outbound investment went to Belt and Road countries in the first 7 months of the year. And cumulatively, we saw two-way investment with Belt and Road countries already exceeding $270 billion from 2013 to last year. So how do you see the growth potential of Chinese investment into Belt and Road countries?
Investment relation with many Belt and Road countries actually work in a win-win situation. If you look at the list of the Belt and Road countries, most of them, well, not all of them, but most of them are developing economies, such as India, Thailand, Iraq, etc. Therefore, the fund and technology that Chinese businesses can offer to these countries are having their advantages. The infrastructure building ability of China in particular has been welcomed. Meanwhile, for these countries, the large Chinese market can mean increasing opportunities for their businesses as well. Most of these countries have just tens of millions of people, but China is a market with 1.4 billion people. So the investment in China can also mean a lot to these countries.
Absolutely. All right, Jiahe, many thanks for your thoughts on this. Stay with us. We're going to come back to you in just a second. Meanwhile, China's central bank has released its latest monetary policy report detailing its actions to support the country's economic recovery. The People's Bank of China notes that it implemented several policy rate adjustments in the first half of the year, adding liquidity into the market through measures such as cutting the amount of money commercial banks have to hold at the central bank. In addition, financing costs for the real economy have been lowered as the central bank lowered its medium-term lending facility rate. According to the PBOC, China's monetary policy have fostered a conducive environment to bolster the country's economic rebound. During the first half of the year, yuan-denominated loans in China jumped by 15.7 trillion yuan. That's a notable increase of 2 trillion yuan compared to the same period last year. New yuan loans, the broad money supply, and total social financing all recorded an approximately 10% rise in June on a year-on-year basis. Well, for more on China's monetary policy in the first half of the year, I want to bring back Chen Jiahe from Novum RK Technologies. So, Jiahe, what's your overall take on China's monetary policy effectiveness in the first half of this year in terms of supporting the country's recovery?
Well, in this year, the economy has actually faced a very hard dilemma. On one hand, we want to bring back the economy, that is for sure. That mainly includes things like consumption-related industries, such as tourism, filming, restaurants, etc., as well as the international trade. On the other hand, there's also the real estate bubble still hanging there. The annual rental yield in large cities is staying at less than 2% in most cases, where around 3% to 4% is considered as a healthy level. So that brings a very hard choice for the monetary policy. That is, if a very loose policy is given, then there might be another bubble. But if no policy is given at all, then the economic recovery will be slow. So China adopted a very cautious and a specific monetary policy. The results has been pretty good by far. The consumption has been boosted in many areas where the real estate price is remaining pretty calm.
Right. And Jiahe, according to that latest monetary policy report, by mid-year, the weighted average interest rate on Chinese corporate loans stood at a historical low of 3.95%. So do you expect lending rates to fall even further in the remainder of the year for the corporate sector, or do you think the PBOC will be a bit more cautious in its prudent monetary policy stance?
Well, there might be some room for the interest rate to drop in the future, but I don't think there will be a very large extent. Currently, the rate is below 4%, while in most cases, we consider a healthy business shall make at least 6% to 7% with its invested capital, and around 8% to 10% is more healthy. This means 4% loan rate is not a very high level. On the other hand, if a company cannot make profit with only 4% borrowing cost, then 3.5% will not help it too much anyway. So looking into the future, there might be some room for the dropping, but I don't think an interest rate that is even lower will do much work. The recovery and increasing of the overall economy is key to the profit of companies.
All right, Jiahe, stay with us. Many thanks for your thoughts on monetary policy. Well, despite challenges, China is set to maintain its key position as a major force driving global economic growth. On Wednesday, China's foreign ministry officials addressed and alleviated concerns raised by overseas politicians and the media about potential global economic vulnerabilities arising from softer Chinese growth. Take a listen.
China's post-COVID-19 economic recovery is characterized by ups and downs. Challenges are to be expected. China has rolled out a host of targeted and substantive measures aimed at promoting consumption, boosting the private sector, and attracting foreign investment. These have been hailed by domestic and foreign investors. The Chinese economy enjoys strong resilience, ample potential, and robust dynamism. And the fundamentals sustaining China's sound economic growth in the long run remain unchanged. We have the confidence, the conditions, and the ability to meet the economic and social development targets set for 2023 with high quality, open up broader prospects for China's economy, and remain a source of strength for world economic recovery and growth.
Well, China's foreign ministry indicated that the country's economy is demonstrating robust growth momentum. China's first half GDP grew 5.5% compared to the same period last year, surpassing the 3% growth rate of H1 2022. Consumption contributed to 77% of China's growth in the first half of this year. China's foreign trade has also maintained its resilience, especially when it comes to the exports of green energy products such as electric vehicles, lithium batteries, and solar cells. Well, the 2023 China International Fair for Trade and Services, or CIFTIS, is set to be held right here in Beijing from September 2nd to 6th. The event blends both online and offline components and will witness participation from 75 countries and international organizations. Some 1,870 Fortune Global 500 companies and key industry figures are also attending. The CIFTIS will see a wide range of service sector exhibitions, forums, conferences, promotional sessions, achievement unveilings, and supplementary activities. This year's CIFTIS will also have an environmental services themed exhibition, which will shed more light on China's thriving new energy vehicle sector. So there are now only 2 weeks to go until this year's CIFTIS kicks off. A press conference was held here in Beijing unveiling details about the financial services section, which will be jointly hosted by the UK for the first time. Now, Britain is the guest of honor country at this year's CIFTIS. Our Zheng Junfeng has more.
At the world's largest services trade fair, CIFTIS, the financial services segment holds significant prominence. According to officials, 219 financial institutions from 20 countries and regions are set to participate in the event.
This year's International Financial Forum will be held in cooperation with the UK government, which is the honor of guest at this year's CIFTIS. Senior executives from HSBC, Schroeder, Legal and General, which are the leading financial institutions in the UK, will speak in the forum. They will discuss with their Chinese counterparts on global financial development, challenges, risks, and cross-border cooperation. A key focus of this forum is on ESG and green finance. We will set up a China-UK roundtable on this topic.
A councillor from the British Embassy in Beijing underscored the centrality of financial services to the UK economy. Notably, senior officials from the UK government will grace this year's event in Beijing, signifying a crucial juncture in the China-UK bilateral relationship.
This high-level representation underscores the great importance we attribute to CIFTIS and serves as a demonstration of the deep bonds between our nations. The presence of these distinguished officials in Beijing showcases the genuine partnership that is being nurtured between our countries, highlighting the spirit of openness and cooperation that is at the very core of this relationship.
As per statements from officials, this year's CIFTIS will showcase diverse scenarios of digital RMB consumption, various strategies for enhancing digital finance, and fostering international collaboration. Since the milestone Shanghai-London Stock Connect program in 2019, China-UK financial cooperation has been making steady progress. China's huge financial market continues with its opening up, while London maintains its global financial center status and an offshore RMB trading center. Now, CIFTIS offers a platform for both sides' financial industry executives to have dialogue and seek cooperation opportunities, especially in green finance and ESG. Zheng Junfeng, CGTN, Beijing.
And changing gears to climate change, where this year the world has witnessed substantial disruptions to global food security due to severe weather conditions. In response, China has been implementing smart agriculture techniques to alleviate the resulting impact. Our Xia Yuexue explains.
Look at what we have experienced this year. Extreme heat waves and extensive rainfall and flooding. These events serve as a reminder of the threat posed by climate change. As the areas affected by disasters include some of China's significant grain-producing provinces, there are concerns that food production might be impacted this year. Luckily, modern technologies that are widely used in agriculture are helping to deal with harsh weather conditions.
We haven't been affected by the extreme weather at all.
Qiu has 1.4 square kilometers of farmland in Shangshui County, central China's Henan province. Smart agriculture has been applied to all of its plots. With just a push of a button on its mobile device, the water pumps and sluices of the agricultural canals activate to irrigate the crops. This is made possible by a smart irrigation system that allows for remote control and monitoring. Qiu can also operate irrigation and spray fertilizers remotely from the control room, while collecting information about weather, soil moisture, pests, and seedling growth.
Farmers used to rely on weather conditions. Now I feel more financially stable and secure. I can have a consistent income.
Smart agriculture can improve efficiency and reduce labor costs. It can also monitor the weather and the growth conditions of his crops.
A drone equipped with sensors for plant protection was flown above Qiu's farmland. It was to efficiently gather data on parameters such as leaf area and soil moisture, while also accurately identifying the growth conditions of the crops. Subsequently, Henan Agricultural University issued a report containing customized fertilization prescriptions for each individual unit of the crop.
Weather is the most crucial thing for agriculture. The application of science and technology in agriculture is utilized to forecast and manage various weather conditions.
Central Henan Province is a major producer of grain in China. In late May, some areas in the province experienced heavy rainfall during the summer harvest period. However, due to efficient harvesting methods and advanced agricultural technology, we were still able to achieve a bumper harvest. Moving forward, we will continue to integrate modernization technology into all aspects of production to increase farming efficiency and improve national food security. Due to the El Niño phenomenon and global warming, extreme weather conditions are making food production more difficult in China and many other parts of the world. So it's important to address climate change using modern technology and make effort to mitigate the impact of extreme weather on food security. 夏瑞雪 CGTN 商水 County, Henan Province.
And still to come here on Global Business. We take a closer look at China's sizzling summer box office sales, on track to hit a record high.
Climate change, economic uncertainty, and food insecurity. As the world faces multiple challenges, heads of state of BRICS nations and 55 African countries meet in South Africa, with a common goal to promote multilateralism and sustainable development. CGTN will bring you in-depth reports and comprehensive analysis on one of the largest gatherings of developing countries. BRICS Summit 2023. Building an inclusive world.
To China's movie market, where box office revenues from June to August has surpassed the previous record. According to the China Film Administration, cinemas nationwide raked in over 8.7 billion yuan, or $1.2 billion US dollars, from ticket sales in July alone. Now, that marks the best performance in history for July and is 25% higher compared to the previous record in 2018. Now, as of Thursday, China's summer box office has topped 17.78 billion yuan, breaking the record set in 2019 with 2 more weeks left until the end of the summer movie season. So far, China's daily box office has stood above 100 million yuan for 57 consecutive days. And for more on China's summer box office, I want to once again bring back Chen Jiahe from Novum RK Technologies. Jiahe, so quite a hot summer box office. What factors are leading, you think, to such a strong performance in movie ticket sales so far here in China?
Yes, recent data just shows that the summer box office has been around 16% higher than the level of 2019. This is clearly a very obvious sign of recovery. The reason behind this is a strong recovery of China's consumption economy, especially those sectors that are not affected by the real estate market, which might include things like air conditioner, furniture, etc. Actually, I can personally feel the crowd of consumers very clearly. As I'm in Sanya at this moment, which is a very famous tourism city in China, there are just crowds everywhere in the city, much more than last year. And I can see that many new openings of local shops, supermarkets, and restaurants. You can just feel that crowds on the street and, of course, in the cinema as well.
Yeah. Well, Jiahe, over $1 billion in movie ticket sales alone in July, a new record for that month as well. So what might all of this tell us about the domestic and culture-related consumption picture here in China?
That is a very interesting phenomenon. In this summer, most of the best sellers are domestic-produced films, such as The Creation of Gods, Chang'an, Lost in the Stars, etc. And this is happening while many global films are also shown in the cinemas, such as Mission Impossible, Ninja Turtles, and The Transformers. But consumers just voted more for the domestic films with their money. This trend shows us that China's film industry is now much more matured compared with before. Millions and millions of consumers will not care about who gets the top list. They just pay for whatever they like. And domestic films seem like being better with grabbing the appetite of local consumers.
Yeah. Okay, Jiahe, we're going to leave it there. Many thanks for staying with us throughout the program. Chen Jiahe, CIO at Novum RK Technologies. Thank you, as always. And like Jia He was mentioning this summer, indeed, China's domestic films are outpacing that of Hollywood movies in terms of ticket sales. And that's also triggered extensive discussions on various social media platforms. Our Olivia He has more on this trend.
The Chinese film market has been witnessing a robust surge during the summer. Homegrown films are sparking vibrant conversations on social media, and the summer box office is achieving unprecedented success, engaging a nationwide audience of over 370 million viewers.
While viewing the film Chang'an, I was amazed to witness a group of young audience members in the cinema reciting town poems.
Upon viewing the film Creation of the Gods, I felt compelled to promptly research and delve into the history of the Shang dynasty.
I've come to see No More Belts since it's garnered significant attention on social media. I have a sense that if I miss out on watching it, I might feel left behind.
Instances like these have become a frequent occurrence at this year's summer box office. Data from Maoyan Professional Edition reveals that 116 films made their debut during the summer box office period this year. Some viewers are pointing out that this summer, the significance of film ratings appears to have diminished. What truly matters is the influence of the subjects these films bring forth, ushering Chinese cinema into a phase of strong topics, strong direction. In major cinemas in Beijing, I observed a noticeable prevalence of posters and film screenings for Chinese films in comparison to Hollywood movies. It's also noteworthy that despite the release of blockbuster hits such as Mission Impossible 7, Transformers and Spider-Man, domestic films still managed to secure a significant market share of 83.48%.
This summer, the caliber of domestic films is exceptionally impressive. I found myself watching some of them 2 or 3 times, yet I still can't get enough.
Additionally, a lineup of outstanding domestic films is set for consecutive releases. Those within the industry are forecasting that the momentum of the film market's revival in 2023 will persist into August, potentially surpassing the highest box office achievement of the summer season in 2019. Olivia He, CGTN, Beijing.
And in other headlines we're tracking at this hour, initial claims for unemployment benefits in the United States dipped to 239,000 for the week ending August 12th. That's slightly below the projected of 240,000 by the market. Norway's central bank implemented a 25 basis point increase to its benchmark rate, reaching 4% on Thursday. That's in line with market expectations. The Norwegian Central Bank indicating another potential rate hike might be coming in September. In the euro area, yields on benchmark 10-year government bonds experienced an uptick on Thursday. Now, this shift suggests that major central banks could be poised to maintain higher interest rates for a longer time. The U.S. Federal Reserve's July meeting propelled U.S. 10-year Treasury yields to their highest level since October. And finally, to the United Kingdom, where the country saw a moderation in food inflation pressure last month. Our correspondent Li Jianhua reports.
It's the question many people in Britain are asking. When will food prices start to go down? Food inflation reduced to 12.7% in the year to July, from 17.4% in June. But prices are not actually falling, just increasing at a slower pace than before. Research shows that 56% of adults in the UK say their cost of living rose in August, with rising food prices the main driving factor. I just bought some groceries from Morrison's behind me. Let's see how much they would cost me. I've got some bread, a small block of cheese, 2 pints of milk, and some eggs. They cost me around £10, that is about $12 US. For many low-income households, putting food on the table has become much harder, and more are turning to help from local charities.
We're talking about real need. So with the gas, the electricity going up and everything, we are getting more clients that are very needy. So they come here for extra food, we give them food bank vouchers, we give them clothing, women and children's groups and men's group, giving them out clothing. Showering, they can't afford to put the heating on, so it is a pretty desperate situation.
Research shows that more than 50% of adults bought less food between the end of July and early August this year because of rising costs. Jack has been running his kebab shop for about 8 years. He has been forced to absorb much of the rising costs and thus making business more difficult.
I used to pay maybe half the price what I'm paying now. Yes, everything is affected even, so salads affected, even fuel is affected, rent is affected, even wages are affected. So everything after Corona, prices are going up, never coming down, Since Corona, all the prices are up.
The Bank of England has been raising interest rates to try to lower inflation. And while food inflation is coming down, many consumers are waiting to see that reflected in the price tags on supermarket shelves. Li Jianhua, CGTN, London.
Meanwhile, Australia's ruling Labour Party has kicked off a 3-day conference to debate its policies for the next few years. On the agenda, housing affordability, taxes in the government's AUKUS military pact. Our Nicole Ng has more from Sydney.
Well, it's the first national conference that the Labour Party here in Australia has held while in office in over a decade. It's a meeting that takes place every election cycle, which brings together hundreds of delegates, including the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, union leaders, activists and more, and they're there to debate the key policy issues of the day. On the agenda today were the economy, climate and health. Currently, we're seeing a housing crisis in Australia. This morning, thousands of protesters took to the streets of Brisbane, where the conference is being held, to urge the government to improve housing supply. And the Prime Minister a short while ago announced that starting next year, tens of thousands of people will get help putting a deposit down to buy a home. But by far the most contentious issue this meeting for many delegates will be AUKUS. That's the defence pact between Australia, the US and the United Kingdom that will see Australia acquire nuclear-powered submarines. There are some in the party who oppose this pact, and they're calling for it to be removed from the party platform entirely. Others are pushing leaders to reaffirm a pledge that dates back to 2018, when they said they would sign and ratify the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. They say that non-proliferation remains a core party value. This AUKUS debate is set to take place on Friday. It's set to take centre stage, and the conference is scheduled to wrap up a day later.
And with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.